Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on. Okay, can't do that. All right. Again, thank you for clicking on. It is early. It is 8:49. 11 days into the month of December in the year 2023. We are just over a month away from the first caucuses in Iowa, and then a couple of weeks later will be the first primary in New Hampshire. So presidential politics will start to ramp up, not that it hasn't been ramping up already. Again, thank you for clicking on. I need to take care of a couple of things here. I was going to play the opening and take care of these things, but I found out the opening would not play. So take care of a couple of production things real quick. Make sure and get the link up for Chris, who will be joining us around 9 o'clock. And say hello to everybody in the chat real quick with a typed message. And say hello to everybody. Hang on a second. Okay. Again, I say hello to everybody watching. Thank you for clicking on. Greatly appreciate you being here. Chris joins us at 9, our counterterrorism and military expert. And hi, Guy. Thank you for joining. Let's get to a couple of things before we get Chris up here. And start out with, came in today with a brief short promoting the fact we're going to be on tonight, and also talking about the cyber attacks that potentially have happened and could be happening from China. I just Googled a quick Google of cyber attacks. China's cyber intrusions have hit ports and utilities, official says from the Washington Post 10 hours ago. Now, these are talking about past cyber attacks, the ports on the West Coast, and Hawaiian Water Company, Hawaiian Water Utility. But recent cyber attacks aim to cause societal chaos, quote unquote, in the United States. That comes from the Daily Wire. Fox News, U.S. alarms as China hacks critical systems. Daily Mail, Chinese affiliated hacking groups infiltrated critical American infrastructure. We talked about this probably a year ago. I mentioned the what was it called? The Typhoon. I can't remember the name of the software now, but anyway, the military had found it in their systems, a malware, and many of the utilities have found it. There have been a lot of reports in the online community about things that have happened today. Supposedly Netflix went down. Supposedly Rumble went down. I myself had some problems keeping Microsoft up, and okay, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. What happened here? Hang on. I know what I did. All right, there we go. Sorry, I clicked the wrong button. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show this or not. So I'm gonna have to do it kind of on the fly as a test here. And I see Chris has joined us, so we will get to him in just a moment. I want to select the window and pop this up and see if this works. Okay, looks like it might. I hope this is working. Sharing a window. Okay. The headline here is Elon Musk has said he will go to prison if the United States tries to censor his platform X, which we will be doing the bookmarks from here coming up in just a minute. U.S. to share missile secrets with China under a new proposal. This came in 12 hours ago from Newsweek. And Israel drove suitcases stuffed with cash into the Gaza to help keep Hamas in power. This came in from the Business Insider 6 hours ago. Kind of plays into what Chris has been talking about in there might be a reason that for Hamas leadership to stay in power, the oil. China says enough is enough as UN officials see devastation of Gaza firsthand, and the Supreme Court will consider special counsel's request to rule on Trump's immunity. All right, so we will hop back over here. Hang on. I'm doing the production live. There we go. We're back over here. And we will bring Chris up. Chris, how are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself, Bear?
I am hanging in there. Thank you so much for asking. And thanks for being here, as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciate you being here.
Yeah, as always.
Yeah. So you heard the headlines there. Anything jump out you want to comment on?
In reference to the cyber attacks?
Yeah. We've talked a lot about potential terror attacks, and we've kind of overlooked the fact that, this Chinese malware, Volt Typhoon, has been in the infrastructure of our cyber world, both militarily and in utilities. I heard online today. We're not going to now. First of all, let's let everybody know that whatever happened today, some of us experienced some things that were just out of the ordinary. We've heard that there might have been some banks that were attempted to be attacked, possibly even the Federal Reserve, some utilities, possibly some Texas oil infrastructure, and possibly Texas utilities, since they're a separate entity from the rest of the power grid. And none of this is going to come out on the mainstream, more than likely, because they're not going to want people to know how vulnerable we might actually be, correct?
Well, yeah, so here's the thing. When you're dealing with cyber attacks, and I just kind of found this out today because I got friends that work directly in this field. So they were telling me once the attack occurs, you pretty much have to let that virus, wherever it's run its course, right? So the best way to defend against that is to mitigate it, is to mitigate that virus from even infiltrating into those computer systems. So obviously the way we mitigate things isn't good enough because that malware was able to attach onto whatever and to actually penetrate into all those computer systems, and to actually infect whatever they infected. Now it's a mission of, it's like how do you phrase it? It's like something disaster repair or disaster cleanup, and you pretty much have to start all over from scratch again after this point. So I'm like, that's how this works? He's like, yeah. And I said, okay. So, but the whole thing is the mitigation of it, and
Yeah.
once that virus is attached to something, it's really hard to stop. Matter of fact, you can't stop it. So it is what it is.
Wow. Also, there was a water company in Ireland that was attacked. So it could be. I mean, it could be a much wider scale. I'm sorry, my dog is over here trying to talk to me. Um, it could be a wider scale than we might know, but so there's not really a lot we can do.
No, there isn't. There isn't. The only real way to stop that is the mitigation of that malware, or when they send the virus out. So that's pretty much the only way to, from my understanding, the way it was explained to me, that's pretty much
Okay.
the only way to stop.
Okay, one of the theories I've heard on my end is that this was just like a probe to see how far they could get on certain infrastructures, and the real big attack will come right before they go after Taiwan, because they will want to throw us into as much chaos as possible, and they will want to interrupt our communication with the forces specifically in the Pacific region, and the way to do that is by taking out our computers.
And that's 100% correct. Let me, so, as even though it's cyber attacks, it's still a form of terrorism, right? So even with that, they still have to probe to see how far they can get, to see how effective the attacks really are. So you might see a couple more attacks, right, on our infrastructure and whatever it may be deemed necessary, because they have to be able to shut that stuff down. You see, and now what we're doing is we have to rebuild that system, and China and whoever else is going to have to attack it again. So if we mitigate what they're planning to do, we should be able to stop it. But if we don't mitigate it, then it's the same thing all over again. So
Okay, all right. So let's jump into the bookmarks. I don't have many. I don't have as many as normal tonight. I get a lot of comments about, aren't there any positive stories? You talk a lot about, what's really going on, and a lot of it's negative. I've got a positive story that I'm going to end with tonight, and I'll just tease it here. It's about 10-year-old Jacob, who has terminal brain cancer, inoperable brain cancer. The former chairman of the Republican National Committee wants to put Trump in jail, and he wants it to happen now. He said it's the only way to stop it. There's no other person on the planet, and not in this country, who would, given the kind of grace that Donald Trump has been given, to run his mouth. And that way he has attacking the clerks, attacking the judges, attacking the prosecutors. He wants to throw Trump in jail because he's afraid if Trump gets in charge, Trump's going to use the system, as he's saying, against all of the people on that show right there, and lock anybody up that has ever said anything negative against him. We're in some perilous times, and I really hope the viewers, my friends that are watching, people start to ask themselves, how did we get limited to these two choices when it comes to president? How are we so limited that we have two, I don't know, inept candidates, in my personal opinion? Is there really a so-called elite that are trying to run the world? And I bring up the. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is, but if you
It doesn't mean they're going to be successful.
no, but I mean, listen, if you really had someone that was logical, who came out and said, hey, look, we need to do this, and this. We're in this much debt. We have to do X, Y, and Z to make this a better country, that person would not get elected.
Absolutely not.
The person that's going to get elected is the one that runs his mouth the most. Who's the biggest BSer? Because that's what people like. They like the BS. They don't like.
They don't want to know the truth.
Right. They like the BS. So,
All right.
BSer, it's to be the president.
All right. I'm going to take this onto the world scale now because I don't think these people are BSing us. I think they're telling us exactly what they want to do. There's a plan to cull 200,000 head of cattle in Ireland. Quote, it's the only way to, and quote, it can only end in disaster. He has criticized the move to cull 200,000 head of cattle in a bold effort to meet climate targets. He says it's, that's not ending climate targets. That's ending food. And I hope people, that's my opinion, all right? And we don't tell you what to think or how to think on here, and I apologize if it came across that way. It probably did, because I'm concerned about what's going on here, Chris.
So, remember what Henry Kissinger said some time ago about food security?
Right. Who controls the food controls the people.
There you go. Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Take that into consideration, into account, about that story right there.
All right. This is troubling to me personally because this is going to pit. This opens up the world to the conflict in Gaza right now, pitting Muslim against anybody non-Muslim. This is from the next premier of the Netherlands, Geert Wilders, and he starts with, quote, "Friends, Islam is truly evil. The so-called Prophet Muhammad raped a young girl and gave slave girls to his henchmen. Islam is violence, hatred, and barbarism by nature. It is incompatible with freedom." To me, this is just like, not accepting that there are two different cultures, let alone not understanding that things that happened in biblical times don't necessarily justify things that happen now.
It's true.
What do you see from this?
So he wants to talk about violence. Let's talk about the Crusades and Christianity, right?
Yeah, I've been doing some genealogy online because nobody in the family had ever done it before, and we didn't really know a lot of the history. DNA can be so enlightening, and it also can give you things that make you go, sometimes you find ancestors that are like, wow, this is kind of cool. Sometimes you find ancestors that's like, wow, this is really not cool. But I've gone back to the Crusades, and I have an ancestor that was a Knights Templar in the Crusades, which is insane because I've written a book, and I don't have a copy of it, but I'm going to promo it heavy the next episode because it's getting near Christmas, and I need to raise some money. Anyway, is this not one of the most divisive things we've heard in public from a world leader, next prime minister of the Netherlands?
But like, who really knows about the Netherlands anyways? They're not like really significant. So, but for him to even come out and say something like that, I just think that as a former world leader, you need to be a little bit more cautious about your words, because the Muslims, can come back and say, well, look at, like I just said about the Crusades. They can come back and say that, and all the things that the Christians
Oakley.
did all over
Oakley.
all over the States and the Americas. You see, or all through the Americas. Let me phrase it like that. Not through the states, but all through the Americas. So you can't sit there and say, hey, you know what, Islam is bad and this and that. Well, Christianity wasn't all that good.
Yeah,
So
there's a uh, there's a display of the Pope's former executioner. The guy, the guy's only job was cutting people's heads off for the Pope. Now this was, it wasn't like 2 years ago or anything. We're talking a long, long time ago. But when you get into the history, it's barbaric on all sides. There have been so much genocide done in the name of various faiths, including Christianity.
of religion, right?
Yeah,
For religion, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
me, like I said, I don't subscribe to any organized religion. I don't, because I just for that simple fact right there, it shows you. You see, I can take a look at
yeah.
Islam, I can take a look at Christianity, and I can take a look at what's going on right now, right? Going on
Hmm.
in Israel and through Zionism. So I just steer away from any organized religion whatsoever because
Now,
it, it
and we, like you said, including Islam, because we can go back. I mean, we can look at everything the guy said. There are individuals that have done the things that the guy said. The problem is when you say every, or you get monolithic, especially when you're a world leader and you start saying everybody is like this. That's problematic for world peace.
that's right, exactly what people don't want work. People like confusion and that's what some people are doing. You know, chaos.
Yeah, chaos. And that takes us to our next story. According to Russell Brand, Africa is now becoming the testing ground for a biometric digital identity platform developed in a partnership between MasterCard, Trust Stamped, and Gates Vaccine Alliance. Um, and the idea is that, unless you have the vaccines that are required, you're not going to be able to access your money. They're going to be able to track your spending. You're going to get charged if you do something they think creates carbon dioxide, um, which is anybody that, anybody that had junior high science and grew your own bean, or whatever. Um, plants need carbon dioxide to live. We need plants to live because they take the carbon dioxide and they give off oxygen, and we kind of need oxygen, and we kind of need plants to eat, especially vegetarians. Um, if Russell Brand is correct, this is, to me, having been a pastor in the United Methodist Church and having extensively studied the Bible, I don't necessarily know that there is, going to be a literal mark on the forehead or mark on the wrist, even though some people have been implanted. Um, I think I think this is going to be, it's going to be more of something like this where you have a biometric card, which may lead, which it's a slippery slope to go from a biometric card to a biometric chip. If you're required to have the card and you can't buy, sell, or trade without it, sounds an awful lot like what was prophesied in Revelation.
And you're 110% correct. 110% correct. So like, it's either the mark, it's going to be the mark of the beast, which is going to be 666, or it's going to be well, I guess maybe like a chip in your right hand or something in your forehead, as the Revelation says.
Yeah. Um, uh, the I I did a thing on the Republican debate. The fourth Republican debate. We did a watch party on it, and it,
industry developed a COVID vaccine in record time.
and indeed, this did happen while we were live. It wasn't 8 minutes long like people are claiming, but as soon as she said Trump claimed warp speed, Operation Warp Speed to develop this new vaccine, and I remember doing episodes back then and being like, man, I just don't know. I mean, it seems awful quick, and they cut it off. It went black because I thought when we were watching, I thought, okay, did my computer overheat? Is this on my end? And it was off for a few minutes and then came back on. And it was just odd. And it's spurred a lot of conversation.
I'm sure it did, because for something like that, most vaccines take at least a good 10 to 15 years to actually be developed. They really do.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone can Google that. From the beginning to the end, and for them to be tested for long-term and short-term effects, it takes a good almost, I think, 10 to 15 years for them to actually do that. So for the latest vaccine that we have in 2020 and 21 and currently, for me, it happened just way too fast, and it didn't make sense.
And I think there was such panic. I mean, you saw the numbers, and we all have people we know that died. So it was indeed real and serious, and but yet I think that led to a lot of acceptance that overrid skepticism, and there are going to be those watching this right now, Chris, that are going to say, "Oh, conspiracy theories. You guys are talking conspiracy theories." Hang in there. I got something coming up about that. Alexei Navalny, the guy that had the guts to run against Putin in the last election, has disappeared. He's no longer listed in the prison where he served his sentence. His lawyer was informed his client was no longer listed. And it's unknown where he's at now. He was supposed to be at a hearing today, and he didn't show up. And again, his attorneys have no idea where he's at. People need to, especially people that think Russia's cool, or want us to have a government like Russia, we need to remember this. They disappear a lot of people, Chris. Do they not?
So that's just one of those things. That's just like one of those things you gotta keep your mouth shut. That's what I'm getting out of that. And I mean, but you know what? That's that. I kind of feel it, because I don't want it to seem like that's too draconian. It's just why is it Nigeria, right? There's a guy that talked about, and he named his dog after the president, and somehow the president found out, and they came and got the guy. I think they ended up killing him, or even I'm like, wow, pretty deep, right? You named your dog. You named your dog, but he was just being the guy was being a jerk. But they found out about it, and and you know,
I
some of
don't
the
know if we're
guys
getting
like,
messed with or what. Okay, you're cutting in and out a lot,
it's
at least on my end.
beg your pardon.
I said you're cutting in and out a lot,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least on
it's
my end. I don't know if we're
when you
getting messed. I don't know if we're getting messed with or what, but it's going to be choppy, and I apologize for that. But we're live. What are we going to do? U.S. State Department approved a
right.
decision to sell Israel 14,000 tank shells without congressional approval. That came in yesterday. I don't think we should
Yeah,
be
so
surprised about
yeah,
that.
they just bypass Congress right now. They just bypass Congress because they want to give those tank shells to Israel. I think they're getting ready to go after Hamas. Well, not Hamas, but Hezbollah next. So
Hezbollah. I got
um,
a I got a
that's
I got a story on
tank
that.
shell.
Hey, back to the vaccines thing for a moment. Yesterday was my birthday, and I got a call kind of out of the blue from someone I wasn't expecting to hear from, that I went to school with, and they have long form COVID and tested positive for COVID 8 different times, but weren't sick until they got the vaccine the first time. So some people just, I don't know if there were different batches or what, but there's so many anomalies and abnormalities that are starting to come out now that we may have to do an episode just on that alone. Drone footage from the tornado on Saturday that went through the Nashville area. Reed Timmer showing this massive explosion when the tornado hit an electrical facility, and this is what the electrical facility looked like the day after. All right, can you see the screen, Chris?
It's a little small, but I can see it.
Okay.
Let me make it
All right.
bigger.
That's all right. That's all right. Um, this is the senior Saudi Islamic scholar Sheikh Salah al Fawzan, and basically he's trying to counter. There's a lot of mainstream media talk about Hamas and their treatment of women, and that's why they won't release. The speculation is that's why they won't release the remaining women prisoners, because those women will talk about how horrific they were treated if indeed they are released. And he basically says that Muslims have the right in war to take women captive and use them as concubines. And we'll listen to just a little bit of it. I don't want to copy the video address. Come on, get off there. All right, this is all right. We can do it this way. Load, and we'll have volume.
ونساء فتحرج الصحابة لأن المعروف أن ملك اليمين يتسرى بها مالكها، له أن يتسرى بها وأن يطأها بملك اليمين، وملك اليمين أقوى من عقد الزواج، يبيح للسيد أن يطأ مملوكته، وهذا ما يسمى بالتسري.
Okay, so this is predominant. This is like, it's accepted in. He is he Shira, or he's Saudi, so they're.
Yeah, they're Sunni. They're Sunni.
He's not. Okay, they're Sunni. So I mean, obviously we've seen the treatment of women in those countries. Um, so this is kind of like how they believe.
All right.
Some.
So since they roll under Sharia law, right, and the Quran, I think in most, like I said, organized religions, there's a hierarchy, like men, women, children, right? And in Islam, the women are not, or at least in Sharia law, and from what I've seen, traveling in like UAE, Afghanistan, places like that, and even while I'm in Africa, uh, in Mali, and even Nigeria, the women aren't exactly treated as equals. Okay, so
And
you
that's
know,
probably putting it mildly.
right. So I know in Mali, um, if you have relations with a female and she wants to complain, like, or you abused her or something like that, it's not a legitimate complaint because that doesn't exist in that country. You see, um,
Wow.
yeah, and I mean, as part of war, that is that's to be expected. Okay, I mean, I'll agree with it, but to be expected. So
Okay.
just like the Zionists did, and we saw Cantora, and we showed you about Cantora, and we showed you about various things about how they defiled the women, right? So um, even though they didn't hold the people hostage to a certain extent, but they defiled the women, and Hamas, I don't know if they're doing the same thing, if they're not, because at one point in time when they released the female hostages didn't know their sisters very well. So you don't know what to believe unless you talk to the hostages, the female hostages. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And now, the last I heard right before I came on here, I got a notification that Hamas has said none of the hostages will leave alive unless their demands are met for a ceasefire.
Well, um, I don't think those demands are going to be met. I'm going to let you know that right now. I really don't.
Yeah.
So and
Uh,
if they like I said, if they killed all the hostages, they have no leverage, none. You see, so it doesn't benefit them to kill all the hostages because from that point on, all Israel has to do is just bomb the living daylights out of them. That's all they have to do, and then there's no way in the world they can stop that. So,
good. There's nowhere for them to go.
nope, they're done.
Um, I mentioned earlier in the headlines, China has said enough is enough after one of their representatives was part of the UN that toured northern Gaza, and Russia and Turkey, according to a report, are ready to send troops to Gaza to stop Israel. Um, I referenced Revelation earlier. I'm going to reference
Ezekiel 38,
Ezekiel now.
right? 38,
Yeah.
right? And then, but see,
Um,
check this out, right? It's been prophesied through Ezekiel, right? That Gog and Magog would go into Israel, and but I don't think they succeed. But the bottom line is it's been prophesied, and you can see it's lining up according to prophecy.
it is. That's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Well, but here's the thing: it just goes to show you how legitimate the Bible really is. It's the truth. So um, you can't. How are you going to refute that? You see?
Yeah, yeah. Things line up, and if you don't think there's any, if there's a especially when it has to do with what's happening with Yemen, the Houthis with in Syria and in northern Iraq, and the other day missiles striking near the embassy. Are we not as strong as we project? I know we talked about this before, but not everybody watches every episode. So this is something I think, um, can we handle two or three things at the same time? Could we handle Taiwan and backing Israel at the same time, or Guyana? Because I've got a report. We had airplanes, we had jets, fighter jets over Guyana as a reminder to Venezuela not to intercede in Guianan territory. Are you still there, man? I think we might have lost Chris. See if we can get him back up here. Are you there?
Hey, Bear, can you hear me? Let me reboot.
Yes. You're going to read? Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. While Chris, okay, he's. Let's see if we can get him back up
Can you
here.
hear me now?
Yes, we got you.
All right. So
We
I don't think we can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. We have difficulty doing that, right? So,
wow. Okay.
Here's the thing, right? We talk about striking Iran or striking those proxies in Iraq and Syria. Okay, but at the same time, we don't know what's being spoken or what the United States and Iran are talking about. Right? Iran could be sitting up there saying, "Go ahead, hit them what you want." But the United States right now, it's open season on the American people, and we'll let loose. We have those sleeper cells out, and like we'll activate them, and you guys won't be able to stop it. So you have to, that's just me thinking. That's just me thinking. Hey, look,
Yeah, that's what we. Yeah, I mean,
we're not doing that.
This is it's thinking outside the box, and oftentimes people that hide the box are conspiracy in a lot of people's minds. So I want to play this for a second and get a quick. I saw that guy live in Indianapolis at a place called Crackers Comedy Club. Hilarious. And sometimes the only way to get the truth out is through comedy.
Right.
I think he's telling some truth there. What do you think?
Most definitely, right.
Yeah. Initial reports that Israel has given the Lebanese government and military a 48-hour ultimatum to begin negotiations on an agreement to return Hezbollah to their positions, which were agreed upon by United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701, or else the IDF will launch a military operation to destroy any and all Hezbollah infrastructure in southern Lebanon up to the Litani River, which is right through here. So basically, Israel's going to plan on possibly taking this back and possibly taking the Golan Heights back from Syria, as well as the West Bank and Gaza.
Yeah. So I don't know if you ever saw Netanyahu when he talked about the new Israel, and he expanded the he expanded the map of what Israel is going to be. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this just might be the beginning of that. You see?
Yeah. Yeah, and also similar report out about Israel has said, you said something, we were talking a little bit about striking Iran and striking the Houthis, and that Israel is planning to do that. Israel is planning to, at the same time they go after Hezbollah in the north, they're going to go after the Houthis in Yemen,
Yeah,
which,
yeah, I can see them hitting the Houthis, you know, and rightfully so. Um, and I was kind of like, look, the Houthis, like you're shooting missiles from like a million miles away, thinking it's actually going to do some damage. Like you're wasting your time, and the missiles, for the most part, don't even come close to Israel. Remember the one that the missiles landed in Egypt,
mm-hmm.
and then some of the other missiles didn't even make it past the United States some of the battleships.
They've announced a new strategy on I think it was either Saturday or Sunday when I heard this, that they have proclaimed a blockade, and that no ships doing business with Israel will be allowed in or out, and they're open to attack regardless of nation if they plan on doing business with Israel. So they might have a little bit of impact, and if they have enough impact, somebody will do something about it, I would think.
Right, and Israel really should pound them just to make a point, you know.
Yeah.
I mean that's what I would do. Just for the simple fact that you try to even shoot missiles from that far away, I just feel like this. I'm just going to show you how stupid you are, and I'm just going to pound you into the ground, just because you just attempted to do that. So um, the Houthi rebels, they're about to get like a beating very soon. Wow. And if you thought what Israel did to Gaza was bad, well, they're going to do the same thing to Yemen. I mean, Yemen's poor as it is. So, um, could you imagine the Israeli Air Force just pummeling that? You know,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
bad. That'd be really bad. And then you have to worry about the backlash from Iran um, and all the rest of those Islamic countries coming back on the United States. Well, you know what? Because that's what I would do. All right, okay. Since Israel did that, the United States, we're gonna come after you domestically. Terrorist attacks now. Until you tell them to stop, we're gonna keep coming. We're not gonna stop until you make them stop. Until the United States makes Israel stop, and that's exactly what I would do. I would hit um, the Jewish troops in Iraq and Syria, but then I would hammer the United States.
And that's what they're trying to do in Iraq and Syria.
Right, right. But the thing is, if think about it like this: if I were to, like, you and I are brothers, right? you and I are brothers. I'm the bigger brother. You're the baby brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got a whole bunch of you got a gang that that doesn't like you, right? So you get your big brother to get your back, and you tell your baby brother, all right, these guys are trying to hit you, go beat them up, and they go beat you up, and so your baby brother goes and like the guy that's trying to beat you up, right? But meanwhile, you got everyone else from that gang that doesn't like you, that doesn't like the baby brother and the big brother, who attacks the big brother because big brother is spread out all over the place. And big brother can't fight everybody at the same time. You see, you can fight maybe one or two people, but you can't fight like five or six or
Great
four,
analogy. Yeah.
right?
Great. Yeah. Great analogy. Yeah. Um, this isn't going to help uh, Biden in his reelection. Information coming about how Hunter Biden blew $5 million and didn't pay taxes on any of it
Uh,
from 2016 to 2019. Of course, that's when Trump was president, so evidently things were a little lax that back then as far as taxes and extremely rich people. He had $1,664,004 in cash withdrawals, and there's a list of things he's spent money on, including $53,000 for bank advisors. So these people deal with amounts of money most of us cannot even fathom.
yeah,
And
exactly. I mean, they're a bunch of, listen, they're, in my opinion, they're a bunch of criminals, 110%. That's just my opinion. You know, um, not that it actually matters, but it is what it is, right?
yeah, um, I mentioned earlier the CO2 and that they're wanting to kill cows because uh, cows are responsible for global warming. Um, at 200 parts per million of CO2, all plants. At 600 to 1,000 parts per million, we get optimal farming conditions. Right now, our atmosphere is at 400 parts per million, or 0.04%. So that's how much is in our atmosphere at the moment, and they're trying to tell us that that's what's responsible for. They're running a climate scam, allegedly, or apparently, or in my opinion, um, and we need to wake people up to it. They're trying to take control of the food. They're trying to do away with the abundance of food in order to control the populations,
And
and cull the herd.
and yeah, corral the herd, right? It's a control measure, right?
Yeah,
It's really about control. It's really about nothing else but control. So, um,
there is big concern in Britain about the number of pro-Palestinians, um, and I'm showing this because uh, I grew up a championship wrestling fan, and what we're about to see here is a good old-fashioned ladder match, um, unintentionally, but. This guy runs, and the guy that was trying to put up the Palestinian flag runs and gets his own uh, backup ladder, and because he brought the first one, and they just go at each other uh, in the middle of the street, ladder match. So, um, if you're going to be traveling to Europe, say you're going to go to Europe for the holidays. Um, what would you advise people?
don't go to Europe.
It's It's going to be head on a swivel all the time if you're there.
The same way in Europe, the same thing that's going to happen in the United States is going to happen in Europe. Watch. It's going to be the same thing. And
we're already seeing a lot of stabbings, you know, by those impacted by what they're seeing in Gaza, and guns aren't as prevalent in Europe, so one might expect more stabbings over there. With guns so prevalent here, stabbings are not probably going to be our biggest concern because, quite frankly, a terrorist or extremist or whatever term you want to use, you can't kill as many people generally with a knife as you can with a gun or with a bomb.
right, so you know, even with that, the jihadists, of course, have access to all those weapon systems. You know, at least for the most part, you'll see them with AK-47, and they, of course, they have access to that. So to those, so they can actually go out and like do an active shooter, and of course they have access to explosives, so they can go do the suicide bombing.
Bro, I saw a report that a shoulder-fired missile launcher was found in Brooklyn.
That doesn't even surprise me. That not at all. I heard that, but that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a while ago, and I heard the same thing in Chicago.
I'm just saying, if it was a while, you know, I'm not saying even though it was a while ago, it ain't the only one.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
We can't, you know, we can't. Okay, we got it. No more threat now. We got that missile launcher. Let's see. Have I got it all? Yeah, we're done. We're done with the X scrolls. It took longer than I anticipated. Sorry about that. But let's talk a little bit. How much time do we have? Shoot, we don't. We've gone long. Let's save this for Wednesday night. I've got it queued up and everything already. Wednesday night, we've done a lot of talking, Chris, about who the Israelites were, who the Jewish people are, who they aren't. We've talked about the Zionists. Wednesday, let's focus on the Palestinians.
Okay.
Like, you know, who the Palestinians are. You know, I've got the Wikipedia up here. We'll reference the map we've referenced in the past with the 12 tribes of Israel, and Philistia being down here, including the city of Gaza from around 1200 BC. And we'll talk about, are the Palestinians descendants of the Philistines? So we'll do that on Wednesday night, as well as any major topics coming out then, if that's all right with you.
Sounds good to me.
All right, brother. Thank you for being here as always.
Well, thank you for having me on the show, Barry. I really enjoyed on the show.
Oh man, I love it when you're on here. We'll be back Wednesday night at 9.
Thanks. Sounds good. I'll take you out then.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
And thank all of you. Thank you, Chris. Thank everybody. Let's see, James Davis, Tammy. Oh my gosh, it has been. It's been a long time. Sorry, that was Guy Bassett. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Marcus. Pink Flamingo. Yeah, Chris was cutting in and out. We were having some connection problems there. I'm sorry about that. Ken St. Louis can hit 2. Hey, there's True. How are you? Pat Tolliver. not going away. Always be kind. Did I miss anybody? Did I miss everybody? I thank you all. Thank you all for being in the chat. Thank you all for watching live. We are only on YouTube live at the moment. Everything because of software, well, because of finances, basically, we are limited to one channel live. But that's okay. I'll repost on the other channels, on the other platforms for those that watch. And if you might let people know that, that watch on other platforms, we're only here at this time live. And I thank you all for being here this time live. We'll be back 9 o'clock Wednesday with Chris. And depending on what happens, I may be on tomorrow night. I may not. And if not, we will see you Wednesday night. And if so, we'll see you very soon. Regardless, we'll see you next time. It is a dark world. Do try to be a light. And don't ever get paranoid. Don't ever get paralyzed. Don't live in fear. Don't change who you are or what you are. But be prepared. And depending on your circumstances, be aware. Maybe keep your eyes up and looking at your surroundings, especially in crowded situations, rather than down at your phone. Just something to think about. Love y'all. See you next time.